Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. Oh, then Gosans of Prabhu, I require screen sharing. Meanwhile, let me honor the base. Okay. Thank you. Two. Okay, where are we? What is a complete? This one. Nāmāśraya-bhakti. Let's stop here. Okay, chapter 10 of Bhakti. 10 of Bhakti Aloka. The devotees of Krishna are also counted as I need to begin from here. Okay. The devotees of Krishna are also counted among Tadiya. Okay, where does this come from? So all of this is because there is a statement that one should serve those who are dear to Krishna. Now, what are dear to Krishna? What are related to Krishna? Tulasi is related to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and similar Shuddha Bhakti Shastras, they are related to Krishna. Holy places related to Krishna, they are also relevant. Devotees of Krishna, they are also Tadiya, they are also related to Krishna. It is written in the Adi Purana, Ye me bhakta janah partha, name bhaktascha te janah, mad bhaktanam cha ye bhaktas, te me bhakta tamamata. What Krishna told Arjuna, those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees, but those who are the devotees of my servant are factually my devotees. And regarding to serving devotees, Śrīla Rupa Goswami has quoted the following verse from the Adi Purana in his Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. Yavanti bhagavad bhakte rangani kajitani iha prayastavanti tad bhaktam bhakterapi buddha vithupu. The purport is that almost all the above mentioned limbs of serving Krishna are accepted in the service of his devotees. The reason for the use of the word almost, prayas, is that the devotee should be worshipped by offering them Krishna prasad. All other limbs such as offering obeisances remain the same. There's a mistake here. Typing mistake. The typing mistake here. This is Rupa Goswami's own statement, but it is being spoken with reference to this verse of Adi Purana. The practitioner should hold festivals according to his capacity. organizing festivals in the association of devotees is a prominent activity. However, one should be careful not to associate with non-devotees in the course of holding such festivals. That's a need of organizing festivals on the occasion of the Lord's appearance day. One should maintain love and devotion while serving the deity. Being attached to the impersonal aspect of the Lord, foolish people without consideration disrespect the deity. But if they associate with devotees and properly consider, then they will see the need for serving the deity. Now, deity worship is very, very important. One may argue that I will just take shelter of Bhagavata Vidhi. Why do I need to be bothered about Pancharatrika Vidhi? But actually, it is very, very important. The vast majority of us, if we don't have the support of Pancharatrika Vidhi, we will not be able to function in the proper manner. We will not be able to execute our duties of Bhagavata Vidya also correctly. Extremely important. It is extremely important. Imagine we have no Mangalarati. We don't have a routine deity program. Already things are quite challenging in Bhakti Yoga. And on top of it, if our life is not regulated in some manner, then things become even more difficult. Even more difficult. Therefore, deity worship is very, very useful for Kadarya Chitta, for people whose consciousness is in a wretched state. That is the vast majority of us. We need deity worship. That is why in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, there are a number of Bhakti Angas connected to Archana. One should relish devotion scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam with advanced devotees. If one relishes devotion scriptures with the rationalists, rationalist means those who simply accept Pratyakshanumana and they do not accept scriptural authority fully. People fond of argument and dry speculators, then one's heart becomes dry and the awakening of transcendental mellows does not take place. It is necessary to associate with devotees. Associate means interact. It is necessary to interact with devotees. Gyanis and karmis are not counted amongst devotees due to their illicit desires. A practitioner of devotion service should associate with more advanced persons who are affectionate and on the same path. Sajati Yashaye Snigdhe Satho Sangha Swatah Vare. Threefold conditions. We should associate means we should interact with devotees who are more advanced than us in Krishna consciousness, who are snigdha, who are affectionate to us, because they may be indifferent. It's also possible for a more advanced devotee to be indifferent. He may just be absorbed in his own devotion service. He wants to go back to God and he wants to become, he wants to attain Prema Bhakti, maybe of the Bhajanamandi type. He may be more advanced. And on the same path, Sajati Ashaya, which literally means having the same goal. Having the same goal. Otherwise, his heart will not take shelter of pure devotional service. It's a very important principle to associate with, to interact with the right type of person. Interaction is very important. Interaction or Sangha is very, very important. You interact with the wrong type of people, you will develop the wrong type of attitude, you will develop the wrong type of desires. Things become even more difficult. In the Haribhakti Sudhodaya it is written, Yasya yat sangatih pumso manivat syat sat tat gunaha swakular dhyai tato dhiman swayudhyanyeva samshrayat. As the qualities of a nearby object are reflected in a crystal, one similarly takes on the qualities of a person with whom he associates. Therefore, in order to increase one's devotional sentiment in his own life, a wise person should take shelter of those who have the same temperament. One should be particularly careful in this regard. association with Sahajiyas and Bauls yields unfavorable results. But if one associates with pure Vaishnavas who are followers of Srila Rupa Goswami, then pure love for Krishna is awakened. Among all limbs of devotion service, association with devotees is one of the main limbs. Among all the above mentioned limbs of devotion service, the following 5 principal items are the best of all. Worshipping the deity, relishing the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam with advanced devotees, associating with more advanced devotees who are affectionate and in the same line, congregational chanting of the holy names, Nama Sankirtana, and residing in Mathura. If we further summarize, then chanting the holy names and serving the Vaishnavas are the topmost. If we further summarize, then chanting the holy names and serving the Vaishnavas are the topmost. Most important items. One is Namakirtana, which means to utter the holy name, to pronounce the holy name. To pronounce Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the next is to serve the Vaishnavas, by which it is automatically understood. It means serve Vaishnavas as appropriate. Specifically to interact with the devotees who are more advanced than us, who are affectionate to us. That means they want to help us and make us qualified for higher realms of devotional service, and who are having the same goal that we have. It is written in the Padma Purana, Sajati Ashaya. Sajati Ashaya, having the same goal means their goal and your goal are in the same category. They are Sajatiya, they are not Vijatiya. They are not, my goal and his goal are not in 2 different categories. For instance, if I desire love of Godhead and liberation and some basic piety and some money and some comfortable life, that means I want Dharma, Kama, Moksha, Prema, everything. And then there is some other devotee who only has a desire for attaining love of God. He has no desire for anything else. Then it is appropriate that I humbly associate with him. So that would be associated with someone superior, and that would be acceptable if I want to become like him. If I want to become like him. That is something Lord Chaitanya keeps teaching. We must give up desires other than the desire to improve in devotional service. So it will be appropriate to associate with such a person. He is superior in every way. He is superior in terms of faith, Shraddha. He is superior in terms of understanding, Pragya. He is superior in terms of Spriha, in his desires, in his ambitions. And if he is also superior in activities, he is only engaged in the activity of devotional service. He has given up sinful activities. He has also given up sinful activities automatically includes offenses. And he has also given up family life and activities which involve material dharma. Then he is superior in that also. So chanting the holy names, serving the Vaishnavas are the topmost of all the items. It is written in the Padma Purana, Yena janma shateh purvam vasudeva samarchitaha tanmukhe harinamani satatishtanti bharata. O descendant of Bharata, the holy names of Lord Vishnu are always vibrating in the mouth of one who has previously worshipped Vasudeva perfectly for hundreds of lifetimes. So if one engages in the worship of the deity form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he does it for hundreds of lifetimes, then he is able to chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the same Lord, continuously. Also from the Padma Purana and quoted in the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, the first verse. There are 2 verses here. The first verse, Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasavigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Bhinnatvan Nama Namino. which means the holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition. It is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Thus, Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities. There is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyai sevomuke ki jihvado swayam eva spuratyadaha. That is Rupa Goswami's observation. His conclusion, based on that Padma Purana text. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When the conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. This is the independent mercy of the absolute truth. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has the independent power to bestow all spiritual benefits simply to one who chants the holy names, who serves his devotees the way Krishna wants them to be served. You should also remember, when it comes to Vaishnava Seva, there is a text in Upadeśāmṛta, text number 5. Krishneti asya giritam manasadriyeta. We will see that. We have to honor Vaishnavas as appropriate. We cannot dishonor any Vaishnava. But there are different degrees of honor. We become capable of honoring Vaishnavas as appropriate when we have become sufficiently self-controlled. Therefore, the first 3 verses of the Nectar of Instruction are really preliminary, because it's quite difficult to engage in the sort of sadhu sangha that Rupa Goswami teaches unless we get our preliminary act together. The first 3 verses of Upadeśāmṛta simply give us the qualification to engage in proper Bhakti Yoga. Proper Bhakti Yoga begins with actually chanting the holy names in the association of the Lord. Bhakti Yoga Bhagavati Tan Nama Grahanadi. But that happens in the association of devotees, of proper devotees. Now, how to engage in sadhu sangha is the subject matter of Upadeśāmṛta text 4, text 5, and text 6. Śrī Mathura, the holy names of the Lord, devotional scriptures like Śrīmad Bhagavatam, pure devotees and deities, these 5 items are transcendental. By associating with them, a devotee quickly attains bhava, transcendental emotions, and Krishna. Now, notice this, out of these 5, Mathura Mandala, the holy names of the Lord, devotional scriptures like Śrīmad Bhagavatam and deities, these are different forms of Krishna. And then you have association with pure devotees. It's not just associating with any devotee, associating with pure devotee. In the process of sadhana bhakti, these types of Vaidhi bhakti are explained. Again, Raganuga sadhana bhakti is very powerful in the process of sadhana. When one practices devotion service by following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan, that is called Raganuga bhakti. Persons who are endeavoring for devotional service should follow the activities of the Vrajavasis with their body, mind, and speech, according to his qualification. A practitioner should engage in whatever activities are mentioned in either the process of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti or Raganuga sadhana bhakti. In Raganuga sadhana bhakti, we want to attain the same goal. That we want. For us, the status of the residents of Goloka Vrindavan is considered as our goal, and we want to become qualified to attain that. That is the whole point. We want to become qualified to attain that. For that, Śrī Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that one should carry out the instructions of the associates of Radha Krishna as they appeared in Chaitanya Leela. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami. They have taught us they have demonstrated how to engage in devotional service, how to increase Vairagya, Vidya, Bhakti. So therefore, that Siddha Parampara that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has given us, that becomes very significant for this, because then we understand how exactly to engage in devotional service. When one has an internal obsession to please Krishna, to become qualified to please Krishna according to the standard of the residents of Goloka Vrindavan, and one externally engages in activities of devotional service to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as demonstrated by those very same associates when they appeared in Chaitanya Leela, then that engagement in sadhana bhakti is referred to as Raganuga sadhana bhakti. The activities of sadhana bhakti is practically the same. There's a book called Ragavatma Chandrika, where Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained it. Raganuga sadhana bhakti is not engaging in any activity outside of the realm of sadhana bhakti. It's the same sadhana bhakti. The same sadhana bhakti, when you engage in with that internal obsession, which is called raga, then it is called Raganuga. It is the Raganuga mode of sadhana bhakti, as opposed to the Vaidhi mode of sadhana bhakti. One chants Hare Krishna in both. One serves Tulasi in both. One worships the deity of Radha Krishna in both. One studies the same Srimad Bhagavatam in both. You can take shelter of the same Mathura Mandal in both. But in one, you have the obsessive desire to become qualified, to serve and please Krishna the way he is pleased in Goloka Vrindavan. And you carry out those activities as demonstrated by them in Chaitanya Leela, when they appeared in Chaitanya Leela. The same thing you do. For instance, Rupa Goswami was chanting Hare Krishna. He was doing these things. It's not enough just to have a desire. You need to do the same thing in a particular implementation that they have shown. That is what is required. Therefore, in fact, we have that Sadhu Marganugamanam. It is recommended. Anyway, we need to follow Parampara authority. Someone may attain the highest result by practicing one of the limbs, and someone may attain the highest result by practicing several limbs. Ekhangashraya-bhakti, Bhakvangashraya-bhakti. The unalloyed devotion of those who have exclusively taken shelter of the service of the holy names and the Vaishnavas does not find taste in other limbs. Therefore, the practitioner should work in devotion with full surrender, enthusiasm, firm confidence, and patience. Sangatyaga, giving up the association of non-devotees. In his Śrī Upadeśāmṛta, Śrīla Rupa Goswami has said that one's devotion is enhanced by Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairya, Karma Pravartana, Sangatyaga, and Sadvritti, same as Sadhuvritti. Sato Vritte is derived from Sadvritti. Sadvritti means the devotee's lifestyle or propensities. The devotee's lifestyle or the devotee's propensities. Out of these items, Utsaha, it's Utsaha. The final A is short. Nishchaya, that is also final A is short. Dhairya and Tattat Karma Pravartana have already been separately discussed in the previous essays. Now I will try to discuss the meaning of the word Sangatyaga. There are two types of Sangha. Sangha has two meanings: association and attachment. Association in the sense of interaction. External association, let me say like this. Then attachment, that is internal association. He will explain. Thakur Bhaktivinoda will explain both. The exact words that he uses are Samparka and Asakti. Samparka for association and Asakti for attachment. In other words, Sangatyaga means to give up associating, interacting with those, with certain types of, certain categories of persons, and to give up attachment. Attachment is internal. Attachment is internal. They are separate. They are two different types of Sangha, and both of them have to be given up, abandoned, absolutely. Association is of two types, with non-devotees and with women. Similarly, attachment is also of two types. Attachment for prejudices and attachment for assets. Those Mahatmas who wish to attain perfection in devotional service should carefully give up Sangha in the form of association and attachment. Otherwise, this Sangha will gradually and surely ruin everything. You cannot interact with everyone the way you normally do when you are a non-devotee and continue doing that and hope to progress in Krishna consciousness. Cannot happen. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayato Vishayantum Sangasteshu Pujayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Samohat Smriti Vibhrama Smriti Bhramshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. While contemplating the objects of the senses, the person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. From anger complete delusion arises, and from delusion bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. A practitioner should always remember this instruction of the Lord. If a practitioner engages in prohibited association, then gradually his attachment increases. The more this attachment increases, the more his firm faith in the supreme goal diminishes. The purport is that the living entity is spiritual, being conditioned by Maya and falsely proud due to ignorance. The living entity has forgotten his constitutional position. In his pure state, the living entity does not associate with Maya. Rather, he remains fully spiritual. In the spiritual world, all the association of the living entity is spiritual. Therefore, the eternal Sangha of the living entities in that state is desirable. The Sangha in the conditioned state of a living entity is polluted. In other words, our interaction with people in this world is polluted. That anger being polluted with nescience means avidya, ignorance. In the form of association with non-devotees and women, an attachment for family and assets is unfavorable for one's advancement. Spiritual Sangha of the living entities is compatible, and mundane Sangha is incompatible. To get free from this incompatible Sangha is the living entity's liberation. Now we will be considering incompatible Sangha. First, we will consider the association of non-devotees. Those who are not subordinate to the Lord are called non-devotees. Anyone who does not say Karishye Vachanam Tava is a non-devotee. To a large extent, we are also non-devotees. But to whatever extent we are aiming at becoming spotless servants of the Supreme Lord and please him the way he wants to be served, to that degree we are devotees. But that's called a sadhaka. That indicates that we are engaged in sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti itself is kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sadhana vidha. Rupa Goswami's definition of sadhana bhakti is not that you are just using your mind and senses in Krishna service. That is one half of the definition. There are a number of people who use their mind and senses in Krishna service. The karmis, the genuine karmis, the genuine jnanis, the genuine yogis, they engage in Navavidha Bhakti, because if you don't engage in Navavidha Bhakti, you cannot attain a good material result in your next life, which is the goal of the karmis. Nor can you merge into Brahman, the goal of the Jnanis, merge into Paramatma, the goal of the yogis. So it is not merely engagement, external engagement in the activities that defines whether you're engaged in sadhana bhakti or not. You're engaged in bhakti. That doesn't mean you're engaged in sadhana bhakti. In sadhana bhakti, you have to engage in these activities with the desire to come to bhava bhakti. After singing Ayinanda Tanujatinkaram Patitam Mam Uchime Bhavamudau Priyado Padapakta Puni Sadasham Chintaya. Lord Chaitanya teaches that we must desire Nayanam Galada Shudharaya, Vadanam Gandata Ruthayagira, Pulaka Nichitam of Kadatamanama Grani Vishyati. This is a desire for Bhava Bhakti. Stisadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhava Sadhana Vida. If you are aiming to come to Bhava Bhakti, that means you are consciously working your way to come to Bhava Bhakti. And you're checking if all the symptoms of Bhava Bhakti are manifested in yourself or not. That person is a devotee. That person is engaged in sadhana bhakti. That is called subordination to the Lord. The Jnanis are never subordinate to the Lord. They think that they can become one with the Lord on the strength of their knowledge. They think Jnana is the topmost object. The Lord cannot keep one who attains Jnana under his control. The Lord became supreme by the strength of this Jnana, and I too will become supreme. Therefore, all the endeavors of the Jnanis are to become independent of the Lord. The Lord's power does not act on one who achieves liberation in the form of merging with the Lord, which is attained by Jnana. This is the attempt of the Jnanis. The Jnanis and mundane scholars do not depend on the mercy of the Lord. They try to achieve everything on the strength of their knowledge and reasoning. They do not care for the Lord's mercy. Therefore, Jnanis are non-devotees. Although some Jnanis accept devotional service as a process of sadhana, at the time of perfection, they discard it. So these some Jnanis, they are the ones who successfully attain impersonal Brahman realization. They merge into the impersonal Brahman. They are successful Jnanis. Then you have the unsuccessful Jnanis. The unsuccessful Jnanis have been described earlier on here. This portion dealt with the unsuccessful Jnanis. And this portion refers to the successful Jnanis. But both the successful Jnanis and the unsuccessful Jnanis are both non-devotees. Similarly, you have successful karmis and unsuccessful karmis. The unsuccessful karmi simply engages in his family life and different activities. Material life, whatever. He is following his material dharma. That's all. Varna dharma, ashrama dharma, or for women, Sri dharma alone. They're not mixing it with Krishna consciousness at all. In other words, they don't engage in the regular practice of Navavida Bhakti at all. Unsuccessful karmi. Chari varnashrami jodi Krishna nahe bhaje swadharma karite se rorve podi madhi. Or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita. If a person follows the rules and regulations of material dharma very meticulously, does not engage in ninefold devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, instead of having a nice material life in the human world, or instead of going to the heavenly planets and so on, he will go to hell. He will go to hell, the same hell that is under Yamaraj's control. Because engagement in the regular practice of Navavida Bhakti is compulsory in Vedic culture. Whether you want bhakti, material enjoyment, you want mukti, liberation from material distress, or bhakti, you simply want to selflessly please Krishna, everybody has to accept Navavida Bhakti to Lord Krishna. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyamatma Nivedanam. This is compulsory duty. So the karmi who is a successful karmi? A successful karmi, this is how he thinks. I know some people who are dressed like devotees and with tilak and kantimala, even nowadays, who think like this. My family is everything for me. This is my world. My mother, my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, my sisters, my brothers, my wife, my children. This is what it is. They have taken to Krishna consciousness. I have taken to Krishna consciousness. We're all united. This is what it is. This is all. I'm not bothered about anything else. That's all. This person is not at all, people like this are not at all interested in coming to Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti and all that. What if some epidemic happens and everybody in your family dies? Will you be able to practice Krishna consciousness? We have no concept of it. No concept of it. This is actually a but doing everything correctly, following all the rules and regulations of material dharma. There's an instance of one type of successful karma. It's actually a successful karma, and for sacrificing his energy and carrying out material dharma very meticulously and correctly, he will be benefited in his next life materially. He knows very well that you also have to add in Krishna consciousness. If you don't add in Krishna consciousness, it won't. That is the link that leads you to success. So he knows that. So he knows that without this, you don't get Krishna's blessings. With Krishna's blessings only, everything will work out. That much faith that person has. But that is actually a successful karmi. That is not a devotee. It's not a bhakti yogi. Even though externally it appears that he is also engaged in the regulated practice of devotional service. In all their activities, there are no symptoms of eternal serving mood or subordination to the Lord. Eternal serving mood. That means I want to serve the Lord now and I want to serve the Lord forever. For these people, the karmis, jnanis, yogis, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is like the director of a company and they are working in a company. You do your job, you get your money. That's it. They don't have the idea that I don't want any salary. I just want to make this director of the company happy. That's all. That is a bhakti yogi. Doesn't want anything from the Lord. And in fact, even on the stage of sadhana, a genuine sadhaka, bhakti sadhaka, has the desire to come to that point. It may not be that right now, but he has the desire to come to that point. The others don't even have the desire to come to that point. They don't think about it. That is why he's saying there are no symptoms of eternal serving mood or eternal subordination to the Lord. It's all temporary. I am subordinate to him just like in a company. You are subordinate to your boss. But that is only because you need something out of him. You need money. That's why you are subordinate. You're not subordinate to him fully, absolutely, unconditionally. Such are the symptoms of the Jnani Sampradaya, philosophical speculators. They only get a glimpse of real knowledge. That real knowledge is only a different aspect of pure devotional service. Only pure devotees, by the mercy of the Lord, can attain that. Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Śrī Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows: Jnani Jivan Mukta Dasha Paino Puri Mane Vastuta Buddhi Shuddha Nahe Krishna Bhakti Bine. There are many philosophical speculators, jnanis belonging to the Mayavada school, who consider themselves liberated and call themselves Narayana. But their intelligence is not purified unless they engage in Krishna's devotional service. Therefore, those who are attached to philosophical speculation are counted amongst the non-devotees. There is a fruit called mukti, and that is the supreme goal of their sadhana. It is not the purpose of their life to attain the Lord's mercy through his service. So their goal in life is not to attain Krishna's mercy. People who have faith in fruitive rituals are not devotees. Therefore, they are also non-devotees. These are the karmis. Anyone who performs karma in order to achieve the mercy of Krishna, then that karma is called bhakti. That karma which yields mundane results or mundane knowledge is adverse to the Lord. In other words, there are those who carry out Krishna's injunction in the Bhagavatam. Tavat karmani kurvita. You must engage in karma up to a certain point in your life, until you attain full-fledged detachment, or until you attain unbreakable faith in the process of pure devotional service to Krishna. So these persons, they are engaging in their material duties, material duties, which means for a man, it refers to Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, and for a woman, it refers to Śrī Dharma. And of course, all of these have considerations of apat-sthiti and nirapat-sthiti. What to do in a crisis situation, what to do in a non-crisis situation. All of these come in 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But that person is engaged in these activities just to progress in Krishna consciousness. Actually, you don't directly progress in Krishna consciousness by carrying out your material duties. But when we carry out the material duties with the desire to become fit to engage in pure devotional service, then one attains what is called Hrid Vishuddhi, purification of the heart. Our lust, anger, greed, they go away. So it is indirectly assisting the process of bhakti. So in that way, one is engaged in karma, material karma, in order to achieve the mercy of Krishna. So then that is considered to be an associated limb of bhakti. Karmis do not exclusively search for the mercy of Krishna. Although they respect Krishna, their main purpose is to attain some kind of happiness. Karma is nothing but selfish activities. Therefore, karmis are also non-devotees. Yogis sometimes search for liberation, the fruit of jnana, and sometimes they search for vibhuti or opulence, the fruit of karma. Hence, they too are called non-devotees. Due to lack of full surrender, worshippers of the demigods are also non-devotees, are also called non-devotees. Those who are attached to discussing dry logic are also adverse to the Lord. And what to speak of those who conclude that the Lord is only a figment of the imagination. Oh, the Bhagavatam is just a cock and bull story. There are people who even, due to so many offenses, they come to these kind of absurd conclusions. They've become non-devotees, even though previously they might have been initiated, first initiated, second initiated, and so on. Those who are attached to sense gratification and thus have no opportunity to remember the Lord are also counted among the non-devotees. That means these are sinful people. Vishayi, Anyabhilashi. What is common amongst the karmis, jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas is they fully accept Vedic authority. Their life is regulated according to Vedic scriptures. But those who are Vishayis, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur refers to them as Anyabhilashis. They are attached to sense gratification. So they don't even get an opportunity to remember Krishna. Because you cannot engage in sinful activities and offenses and receive an opportunity to remember Krishna. You'll never have an opportunity to engage in activities that are pleasing to Krishna, nor will you receive an opportunity to somehow be connected with Krishna. This is the reason why Anyabhilashita, adharma, is so terribly condemned in all Vedic scriptures. All Vedic scriptures. Whether the scripture is a pure Bhakti Shastra like Srimad Bhagavatam, or you go down up to the Karma Shastras like Manu Samhita. Everywhere, anything in between, everyone will tell you that adharma is simply nonsense because it covers up everything, stops us from everything. It just completely destroys the whole thing. Completely, it's like you're trying to cook some sweet rice and all of a sudden somebody comes and throws mud onto it. Whole thing has to be redone. Whole thing. So therefore, sinful activities is extremely dangerous. And to favorably associate with and interact with and maintain a friendly relationship, affectionate relationship with people who like sinful activities, very, very dangerous. You're basically gone, finished. It may take several years and decades, lifetimes, to get your consciousness back fit to engage in Krishna consciousness properly. Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. That is why Prabhupada isolated the devotees from the non-devotees. Prabhupada's concept of congregation was form communities. Again, you are isolated from the non-devotees. Asatsangatyage Vaishnavacha. The characteristic of a Vaishnava is that he avoids non-devotees. He actually avoids that which is unholy. There are two types of unholy. One is a non-devotee. Very, very serious matter. I personally think that most of us are not progressing in Krishna consciousness simply because we are disobeying this particular instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is in fact the first rule for Vaishnavas, for anyone who considers himself a Vaishnava. If one associates with these non-devotees, then in a very short time, one's intelligence is polluted and one's heart is overcome by their propensities. If anyone desires to attain pure devotional service, then he should carefully give up the association of non-devotees. Second is association with women. Association with women is detrimental. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Śrī Chaitanya instructs Śrī Sanatana Goswami as follows. Asatsanga tyage Vaishnavachar Stri Sangi ek sadhu Krishna bhakta are. A Vaishnava should always avoid the association of ordinary people. Common people are very much materially attached, especially to women. Vaishnavas should also avoid the company of those who are not devotees of Lord Krishna. So there are two types of asat. Two types of unholy association. One is association with the Krishna abhakta, those who are not devotees of Krishna, which means he is Anyavilashi or a Karmi or a Jnani or a Yogi. The other is a Stri Sangi, one who is attached to one or more women. There are two types of Vaishnavas, the householders and the renunciates. Renunciates are forbidden from speaking with any woman, with every woman. By the instruction to give up the association of women, they have been forbidden from conversing with women. By the instruction to give up the association with women, they have been forbidden from conversing with women. Be careful about these things. Lord Chaitanya is watching all the time. As stated by Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shudra Jeev Sav Markata Vairagya Kuriya Indriya Charaya Vule Prakriti Sambhashya. There are many persons with little in their position, who accept the renounced order of life like monkeys. They go here and there engaging in sense gratification and speaking intimately with women. These are all very serious warnings for us. We break these rules. It's only conversing, it's only talking. It's just communication. It's only communication, not even touching. It's just communication. And it's not even romantic communication. Communication. Platonic communication. Loveless affection, It's just absolutely Shantadasya Sakhya Vatsalya only communication. Even that they've been forbidden. It's for anyone who's a non-householder. And then later we wonder why we are not able to increase our chanting. Regarding Vaishnavis, the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Purvat Prabhu Paila Sabar Milon Stri Sab Dur Hoite Koila Prabhur Darasam. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received them all, just as he had in previous years. The woman, however, saw the Lord from a distance. Previously, it was talking about what to do about women who are any woman, not devotee. Now, how does a renounced Vaishnava, how does he deal with Vaishnavis, with practicing devotee ladies? Three sab dur hoite koila prabhu darsh, from a distance. Keep away. That is a very strong instruction for us from Bhakti-Vinod. They're all very serious matters. We mess up with these kind of instructions, this foundation. In general, I am convinced that both for myself and others like me, because we are not following the fundamental instructions meticulously, therefore we are finding it extremely difficult to progress in chanting, to progress in spiritual realization, detachment, and so on. When you read Bhagavad Gita, you come across Stita Pragya, and later you come across a Gunatita, a person who's gone beyond the three modes of material nature. You also come across the qualities of a Vaishnava. These simply remain in print inside the book. They have not become part of our life because we are not very seriously following these instructions meticulously. This is the prescription in regard to householder Vaishnavas. Householders should not associate with others' wives or prostitutes. They should not indulge in any association other than with their own wives according to religious scriptures. One should give up the uxorious mentality of being excessively fond of one's wife. In fact, in Harinam Chintamani, since the entire Harinam Chintamani is there in our syllabus, I'm not showing you the reference, but there also Bhaktivinoda Thakur deals with this, and he says, Sri Sanghiya Kasadho Krishna Bhakta, he explains this. One is to avoid association of non-devotees. Another is to also avoid the association of one who is a devotee and who is a straina. Straina means the person who is dependent on his wife, who's attached to his wife, who's a devotee of his wife. Straina, henpecked. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says one should avoid the association of a devotee who is henpecked. The instructions of the scriptures regarding the smartas is given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Na griham grihamityaho grihni grihamukshate tayahi sahita sarvan purushartham samashnute. Merely a home, a house is not a home, for it is a wife who gives a home its meaning. If one lives at home with his wife, together they can fulfill all the interests of human life. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted this in order to marry. In fact, the Lord married twice. There's nothing wrong in getting married. But if one becomes a pure devotee of his wife, gone. Everything is gone. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees should not associate with you. Even though you may be chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, whatever. For everything, there's a limit. There's a limit to everything. You're eating food, you must have some salt. Little bit of salt. Not that you have a mountain of salt. Yes, without salt you cannot have taste. Agreed. But not much. That's all. So like that, without a wife, household life is meaningless. There are a number of people who don't want to marry, but who want to live at home, and basically they are wifeless householders. And usually when I see these kind of persons, I condemn them. What is this? You want to be a grihatyagi? Be a grihatyagi. You want to be a grihastha? Be a grihastha. Don't shuttle in between in the form of a ghost in between. Choose one. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu married not just once, twice. But everybody played their game and their role in that game. My Guru Maharaj Srila Jayapataka Maharaj once he said, the Grihastha Ashrama and the Grihatyagi Ashramas are practically identical. They're separated Vanaprastha, a sannyasi, or a brahmachari. They're supposed to simply engage in the 64 items of devotional service, give up all sinful activities, offenses, give up all desires for anything other than devotional service and progress in Krishna consciousness. They have they have any circumstantial need for engaging in any material form of dharma. So that can be compared to a game. It is actually a solo game. There are some games in which you play solo, singles in table tennis or in badminton. Just you against another, that's all. Then there are team sports like football, cricket. So household life is a team sport. Everybody engaged and needs to do what they are supposed to do. And there are so many restrictions. You cannot do this, you cannot do this, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, the goalie has to do that, the captain has to do this one has to do that one has to do that. So all of that brings about elevation to Sattva Guna. We will see how Bhaktivinoda Thakur will explain how there's a proper way of dealing with the wife, because of which one will not be considered to be a straina purusha, a henpecked husband. It's not that a man or a woman should not carry out their duties, but there's a particular way how it's meant to be done. There are 4 kinds of human interests for people in general: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. The prescriptions of the scriptures regarding Varna and Ashrama are called religion. Whatever is prohibited in the scriptures is called irreligion. A householder should follow all those prescriptions and give up all those prohibitions with the help of his wife. Whatever is achieved by following religious principles is called artha, economic development. Assets of the house, sons, daughters, cows, and animals are all artha. For enjoying those objects, there is kama. Dharma, artha, and kama. These 3 are called trivarga, the pursuits of human life. Practicing these 3 vargas is the life of a conditioned living entity who is wandering in the cycle of fruitive activities. It is a duty of the smarta householder to practice trivarga with one's wife. A householder should practice trivarga with his wife day and night. The wife can accompany one while visiting holy places until one endeavors for the supreme goal of life. What else is there except pursuing trivarga? Usually people are not interested in trivarga. Trivarga means 3 goals: kama, artha, and dharma. Dharma means pious credits. You engage in religious activities in order to attain pious credits. Those pious credits will fructify in the form of artha kama in your next life. They may yield some benefits in this life also. So trivarga is civilized material life. One engages in what is technically called bhakti mishra karma. When there is a tinge of haribhakti with engagement in one's material duties, then that is known as pursuit of trivarga. Liberation is the living entity's 4th human interest. There are 2 types of liberation: relief from extreme distress and attaining spiritual happiness. Those whose religious lives are regulated by dry knowledge or impersonalism, for them relief from extreme distress is the prime goal. Those whose hearts are filled with pure knowledge ultimately search for transcendental happiness and do not remain bound in seeking in simply gaining relief from extreme distress. A Vaishnava, whether a householder or a renunciate, is desirous of transcendental happiness, prema bhakti. A householder Vaishnava always works together with his wife with the aim of achieving transcendental happiness. Although engaged in all work in this way, he never becomes uxorious. Let me just tell you how that is defined. Having or showing a great or excessive fondness for one's wife. In this way, he remains free from woman's association throughout his life. He becomes free from association with his wife throughout his life. He totally gives up illicit intimate speaking with women and the mundane uxorious mood in illicit association with his wife. So he's restricted in his association with his wife, and he also avoids illicit relationship with women. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Suta Goswami has briefly explained the rules for a Grihastha Vaishnava as follows. Dharmasya hyapa vargyasya narthorthayopakalpate narthasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaya smritaha. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Namasya nendriya pritir labho jivete yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa nartho yascheha karma bhihi. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Atah kumbhir dvijashrestha varnashama vibhagashaha swanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Asmad ekena manasa bhagavan sarvatam patihi shrotavya kirtidavyascha dhyaya pujyascha nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead who is the protector of the devotees. The purport is that in 20 religious scriptures, the 20 Dharma Shastras, beginning with Manu Dharma Shastra, Manusmriti, there are mainly instructions about Trivarga. Mainly there are instructions on how to attain Dharma Artha Kama. For the welfare of the karmis, the merciful sages have composed 20 religious scriptures that are suitable for karmis. They are so much suitable for karmis that the jnanis, those engaged in Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, when they read it, they can't handle it at all. Because they're not suited for these transcendentalists. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Tavat karmani kurvita, na nirvidyeta yavata, mat katha shravanado va shraddha yavanna jayate. As long as one is not satiated, bored. Prabhupada sometimes uses very sharp expression. Disgusted, sometimes he uses. But at the very least, until one is said, alam buddhi, this is a Sanskrit word. So it comes to a point, okay, it's enough. That's enough. Satiate. By fruitive activity. Fruitive activity refers to activities of material dharma. And has not awakened his taste for devotion service by Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulatory principles of the Vedic injunctions. Okay, let me just make a note here. Now, and then there are other points to be noted also, which was previously obvious, but which we have to note. There is no scope for any sexual activity outside of between a man and his married wife, female, to say these things. If he wants to benefit himself through Vedic Dharma, either at the level of karma or jnana or yoga or bhakti. Okay. Right. The limbs of devotion service are the same in Vaidya and Raganuga, like chanting, reading Bhagavatam. Can you please elaborate further on this? For all practical purposes, the items of sadhana bhakti are the same. The top 5 activities are definitely identical. Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Mathura Vashti, Bhauteshwar, Thaisari. In the Raganuga mood, Raga, that obsession has to be gifted to you. You cannot create it out of thin air. There's nothing you can do to get it. It has to be given. Take it out. This is Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.309. The last words of Śrī Rupa Goswami's own description of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Oh, I'm sorry. Share. Where is it? This is 1.2.309. Krishna tad bhakta karunya matra labhaika hetu ka Pushti margataya kaischid diyam ragani vochyate. The mercy of Krishna and his devotees is the only cause of attaining Raganuga Bhakti. Some call this type of devotion Pushti Marga. That's Rupa Goswami. And Prabhupada has noted this spontaneous love for Krishna can be developed only by the special mercy of Krishna or his pure devotee. So this is, it has been gifted to us. There's nothing I can do, sitting in this world and somehow or other manufacture a Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. We can engage in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, Krishna has to give that intense, Krishna or his associates have to gift it to us. Then we develop that. It's a fever. Wanting. Throw away adharma, offenses. Throw away all forms of material dharma. Simply run behind Krishna. Like Raghunath Das Goswami ran to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Repeatedly his parents bring him back. Repeatedly he runs. Give up eating as much as possible. Increase chanting constantly. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami were sent to Vrindavan by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chanting all the time. Except extreme austerity. These are all natural. These are not created. You don't do these things. It is naturally happens. Naturally it should come. It's Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. How can we know others' internal desires before concluding that we should associate with him or her or not? Desires become clear over time. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to understand. But as soon as we get to understand, we should take appropriate steps without creating unnecessary offenses and so on. Sometimes it may just be required to just keep away and be respectful and keep away. Because Krishna may have a different way, a different plan for dealing with them. We are not going to save the world. Actually, we are just living entities. If Krishna doesn't give mercy, we cannot even help ourselves. How can we help others? See, Prabhupada wrote that poem in Jaladut when he went to Boston, America. If you don't help me, it cannot work. Only if you help, it will work. Krishna is the prime preacher. We are just subordinate preachers. When we become Krishna's yes man or Krishna's yes woman, at that moment, Krishna helps us in preaching properly, pure devotional service. And as soon as we become a no man or no woman, immediately we lose the power to spread pure devotional service to Krishna. Krishna is the prime person. Krishna has to help us in vichar, in learning Krishna consciousness. Krishna has to help us in achar, in implementing Krishna consciousness in our life. Krishna has to help us in prachar, spreading Krishna consciousness. Everything without Krishna's grace, there's no hope. So we don't need to think, oh, if I don't help that person, what will happen? Acha, Atma Prante Bacha. Sinless sense enjoyers who associate with pure devotees and perform 9 limbs of bhakti also. Are they non-devotees? If they have no desire to progress in Krishna consciousness, what is that? What is that? What is the meaning of a devotee? I'm engaged in all these things, and ultimately what do I want? I want God to bless my mother so that she can live longer for another 15 years. Yeah, what is this? What is this? Unless she's a Paramahamsa Vaishnavi, that grandmother, then I accept. But otherwise, what is this? Also that I get sufficient money so that my sons, my daughters, their friends, and everyone should be happy, healthy, and everything should go on very nicely. What this has to do with Krishna consciousness? This is not bhakti. This is not even yoga. This is not even jnana. If I don't even understand, I'm in the middle of a forest fire, and I want everyone to be happy in the middle of a forest fire. What is that? If the family members are not Krishna conscious and they simply engage in material activities, are they considered non-devotees? Obviously. If such members are dependent on us for their maintenance and what to do, we should maintain its duty. The duty. There's something called duty. Whether the person is a devotee or non-devotee, that's besides the point. Is it your duty to maintain that person? Like your children may not accept devotion service at all. But is it your duty to maintain them? That doesn't mean that you have to agree to any sinful activity that they do. But otherwise also, they may not be interested in, they may not engage in sinful activities, but they may not have any desire to come to pure devotion service to Krishna. But if it's your duty, it's your duty. Your duty. I just saw a few days back, a verse from Brahmavaivarta Purana, which says you receive a mantra according to what you deserve, according to your own history from many lifetimes. You get a mantra, the initiation mantra. You get a guru, you get a husband, you get a wife. You get all these things according to what you deserve. Nobody gets anything which they don't deserve. I deserve it. If my material existence is like a TV serial, each lifetime is one episode. So in this episode, I have to experience what I'm meant to experience. I've created it. I wrote the script. I can't blame anyone else. So somehow or other, this person has become my wife, or if you're a woman, this person has become my husband. It's my duty. That duty, when we carry out that duty in the right manner, with the right attitude, in line with the scriptures, then it will lead us to freedom from lust, anger, and greed. That is called Hrid Vishuddhi, purification of the heart. And that is the greatest help that can come from performance of material duties. This is the reason why Krishna chastised Arjuna so much when he wanted to avoid his specific material duty. That material duty may be pleasant or may be unpleasant. Like in that situation in Kurukshetra, before Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, it was displeasing to Arjuna. So sometimes to carry out the material duty towards particular persons may be very displeasing. But you have to do it. It's duty. Duty, it is indirect service to Krishna. That is direct service to Krishna. Nāmāśraya-bhakti is direct service to Krishna. And carrying out our material dharma is indirect service to Krishna. One attaches us to Krishna, another detaches us from Maya. In fact, this is how some Vaishnavacharyas have explained the Ishopanishad verse. Vidyamcha, Vidyamcha. What is it? Avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyayamrutam ashnati. Through, they have explained that Vidya refers to the process of bhakti, spiritual dharma, Bhagavata dharma. And avidya refers to the process of carrying out our material dharma, because that leads to realization of the nature of this world. And through that performance of material dharma, you cross over death, which means you cross over the anarthas, but only that much. Vidyayamrutam ashnate. But when you engage in the spiritual activities of Bhagavata dharma, then you can attain the highest benefit, which is attaining the Lord's abode. So one will help you in getting detached from Maya, the other will help you in becoming attached to Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about it in one book called Tattva Sutra. Says that spiritual life involves two different processes: Paranushilanam and Pratyaharam. Paranushilanam means to become absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and that is the process of sadhana bhakti. And then there is Pratyaharam. Pratyaharam means you withdraw the mind away from sense objects, from the external world. And that comes out through careful, meticulous adherence to one's material swadharma. So it is valuable. It is valuable. Let us not think that it should not be carried out. It's dharma. Dharma. And when we carry it out, automatically that purification of heart will come. That is the reason why material duties have been emphatically presented in most of the Vedic scriptures. This is beneficial. That, you can get material benefits out of it, that is only a show actually. Just like a child is shown some sugar candy, Bhagavatam 11th canto, example. A child is given, his father tells a child, you take this medicine, then I'll give you a sugar candy. So actually, that medicine will lead to an improvement in the child's health. But the child is just a child. There's no brain to understand that improvement of my health will be useful in the long run. The child just wants the candy. So the Vedic scripture contains a lot of presentation of these candies. Or you want to enjoy your senses, you get married. Oh, the conditioned soul will think, oh, that's so nice. So nice. Both the man has a certain set of beauty, woman has a certain set of beauty. The woman thinks, great, yeah, somebody else has to pump in the money. The man thinks, wow, my wife will satisfy me. So in that, what they are both seeing candies. No, why is the Grihastha there for the man or woman? No, it is for this purpose. It is for pratyahara, to make us, to withdraw the mind away from the external world, to withdraw our consciousness actually. Our consciousness is now unnecessarily overflowing to the outside world, to be brought in. So one process takes us away from the external world to the internal world. And another process directly attaches us to Krishna. Same thing as Prabhupada used to say. Become attached to Krishna, become detached from mind. So these material duties are quite important because they help us in detaching ourselves from Maya. But we need to carry them out carefully. Everything has to be done carefully. Just like when you want to do deity worship, you have to do carefully. You cannot do wrong things or do the right things in the wrong order. You cannot do these kind of things. Same way in Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Strī Dharma, everything has to be done carefully. But if you do it, then you get this exalted benefit. Freedom from lust, anger, greed, which means basically you don't have another birth. You don't have your karmic reaction, and when you progress in devotional service and come to the platform of purity, your karmic reactions also go away. So very, very helpful. It's very helpful. Important. Of course, there is a caveat. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about caveat. He presents one caveat that he says in his commentary to that sutra about Paranushīlanam and Pratyaharam. There he says, if one is absolutely and exclusively engaged in Paranushīlanam, in spiritual activities, then Pratyaharam is automatic. Withdrawing our consciousness from the external world of sense objects is automatic. But that means it is absolute, single-pointed. Single-pointed means like Mrigari. Mrigari was absolutely engaged in devotional service under the instruction of Narada. Absolute means absolute, that's it. Nothing else. You don't turn this side, you don't turn that side. So one who accepts that, and that also, he said you cannot, basically you have to give up your occupation. So engage in devotional service. Fully depend on God. And whatever possessions you have, you should already have given it in charity to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Then only you begin this. So those who are able to accept that kind of a life and stick to it without break throughout their life, then they will naturally experience a rapid pratyahara. Prabhupada initially attempted that, but most of our devotees couldn't handle it. Then he started gradually over the years talking about various aspects of Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Strī Dharma, and so on. Are the successful karmis same as Sakama Karma Yogis? Correct, yes. The expression Sakama Karma Yoga, I think is coming from Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. What do you understand by serving the Vaishnavas? Does it also include behaving nicely, maintaining good relationship with Vaishnavas? As appropriate. You have to serve the Vaishnava as appropriate. It comes in Upadeśāmṛta 5. As appropriate to his spiritual advancement. Please advise if one was involved in a particular service for years and then you are told that the service is given to the youth without consultation or discussion. These things happen. Once Sri Govibrahman Prabhu told a friend of mine in my presence, learn to forgive authorities who make mistakes. Okay. Krishna will help. If you want to serve Krishna, you go to your deity and you say, my dear sir, I have a desire to please you in this manner. Please, if I'm qualified, please give me the opportunity. If I'm not qualified, please make me qualified. Krishna will work it out. He is more interested in our services than anyone else. You mentioned about existing like a ghost who are condemned, who doesn't have a wife or live in the temple. The current subject to like Varnashram and training, having a wife or living in temple, depending on temple has become impossible. Can one just live simply, work for food and shelter and focus on devotion service seriously? Theoretically possible. Theoretically possible. But again, why like that? If one wants to make rapid progress in Krishna consciousness, why not accept Prabhupada's method? That too, he has intentionally made ISKCON quite heterogeneous. Quite heterogeneous. He's given us temples, he has given us congregation, he has given us farm community. And you have a problem with all of this? He has given us Padayatra. Anything. Look out for whichever matches your requirement. Go ahead with that. A lot of facility. These facilities are very, very important for those who want to progress from Shraddha to Prema. It's a facility. Nobody is forcing us. Technically speaking, if you can follow Bhaktivinoda Thakur's method while staying at home, fine, it's fine. There are also situations where people cannot marry. There are real situations like that. The match doesn't work. I saw in Bangalore an elderly Sri Vaishnava near our temple, in Sheshatripuram, one area there. Elderly person, 70 years old, a follower of Ramanujan. He was, there was a Venkateshwara temple nearby. He would often come and take darshan, and he would stay in his house. And he was taking care of his mother's health. He was 70 years old and his mother was probably 90 years old. And he spoke very good English also. So one day I asked him, sir, this is your family, you and your mother? He said, yes. You didn't marry? I asked him. In the Ramanuja system, every man is supposed to marry. That's Ramanujacharya system. You didn't marry. It's quite surprising being in Sri Ramanuja's line. You are in this kind of situation. He said, well, I tried to marry, but we have systems. You have to check the horoscope. There's so many things. In the Vedic system, marriage is not simply, you don't see a girl, it's Sandhyarati and then text her something on Facebook. This is not how you marry. The whole thing involved. Whole family gets involved. A lot of things are there. He said, for several years they tried, and then it didn't match. Up to the age of 40, it didn't work. Then finally I said, okay, enough of it. Then online class class meeting. So then he said, well, I was already 40 and this is beyond the age for marriage. So I decided, it's allowed. Dharma Shastras do allow this. It's not that it's forbidden. But generally speaking, one requires the assistance of a dharmic wife to reasonably progress in proper Krishna consciousness. So that was the previous system. But if situation doesn't work out, then he's just accepted as Bhagavad Sankalpa, as the will of the Supreme Lord. It simply doesn't work out. That means the Lord doesn't. Somehow I don't know in my past life what happened. Somehow. So he just left it like that. So there are situations There are, in the real world, there are situations in which case one has to go on. But these systems are very useful. They are facilities. They are facilities. There's a system of public transport. So you can get into a bus and you can go. But if you decide not to go, you can walk. That's there. You can choose not to take advantage of that facility. That arrangement is there. That arrangement is there. But Prabhupada, generally speaking, he has given a very fine facility for those who don't want to live in family life and who want to avoid sinful activities and offenses. And that man, he doesn't want to marry, he doesn't want to get into family life. He can choose to live in a temple with like-minded devotees, and he can progress in Krishna consciousness. He can progress in vichar, achar, prachar. He can learn Krishna consciousness more and more. He can have a stable life in Krishna consciousness. When you're a part of a system where the deity wakes up every day early morning and there's Mangalarti already happening. It's not that you have to do that Mangalarti at home. And your Mangalarti is sometimes at 4 o'clock, sometimes at 6 o'clock, sometimes at 7 o'clock, sometimes at 3 o'clock. Not like that. Already happening. It's very helpful. Very helpful. It's already there. It's tailor-made and given to you. You can accept it. So that it's a facility. It's a facility. But if one can carry out Bhaktivinoda Thakur's instructions while staying at home, it's okay. It's just that it might be more challenging. Of course, then you can argue that what if the temple is very corrupt and this and that. So in that case, then there is Dham. See, there's still another facility. There is the Dham. Prabhupada has set up centers in the Dham. Navadip Mandal, Vraj Mandal, Kshetra Mandal, where it is normal and desirable to have high intensity engagement in Panchanga Bhakti, specifically in chanting. Prabhupada said that. He said Mayapur, Vrindavan is specifically meant for chanting. So there's also Dham. Dham is an additional powerful, you can say, especially supercharged environment to progress in Krishna consciousness. Krishna will help. We take one step towards Krishna, Krishna will take 1,000 steps towards us. So these are all very useful facilities. Very useful facilities. Otherwise it will be very difficult to increase our chanting. Very, very difficult. It's very difficult. Very difficult. Whereas in the dhams, it's quite natural to increase our chanting, to upgrade our consciousness. When we upgrade our consciousness, our sharing of Krishna consciousness is also upgraded automatically. Our understanding of Krishna consciousness is upgraded automatically. And when you teach Krishna consciousness to your dependents and your juniors, that is also automatically upgraded. Everything. So it benefits everyone. So many facilities Prabhupada has given us. Let us take advantage of it as much as possible. As much as possible. Agreed, today's world is a big mess. There's hardly any training. There's no training for men, there's no training for women. But when we progress through Nāmāśraya-bhakti, then Krishna as the backup guru, he comes in, sets things right. So the Yuga Dharma, the process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra without offenses, increasingly, that process is always valid. Whether our local ISKCON situation is helpful or unhelpful. We are also part of ISKCON. It's our duty to help ISKCON become the ISKCON that Prabhupada wanted. We are also part of the movement. Krishna will help. Prem Gosundar Prabhu. Wait.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Dandavat. Prabhuji, you mentioned that generally a person gets the mantra he deserves, the guru he deserves. So what I just wanted to make a point is not exactly a question. I want your concurrence. For all of us in ISKCON, can we not consider ourselves most fortunate that despite being unqualified, by the mercy of Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, we have got the best mantra and the best gurus?
Why? Why? Prabhupada never made false promises about ISKCON.
No, what I mean to say is, you said that a person is only person who is qualified can get certain type of mantra or certain. So I'm saying that we, probably I at least, I'm not at all qualified, but it's only because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and Srila Prabhupada that we get this best mantra and best guru. Not necessarily because my life was pious or I'm qualified or anything like that.
No, it's not. I will not make these false claims about ISKCON that Prabhupada never made.
No, why do you say
Hare
it's a
Krishna
false
mantra
claim
is
about
good.
ISKCON?
That's fine. Hare Krishna mantra is Krishna's own kindness in the form of Lord Chaitanya, and he has sent different acharyas culminating with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada's faithful followers they're also spreading. They have instructed us to spread. So carrying out their instruction, we are also spreading. All these things we are doing. That's all. That's the mantra. But then there are so many other factors. People often ask why I got a particular guru, why I got a particular bharta, husband, why did I get a particular wife, why did I get this type of education, why did I get this kind of material happiness, why did I get this kind of insecurity, why did I get this kind of distress. All of this is because of what we deserve. There's also this other additional factor that an exalted Vaishnava may come and he may force you to engage in high intensity pure devotional service. That is his own mercy. That's accepted. That's his own mercy. If that happens, that's his own mercy. But we can see that from the result. Alena Parichayate, we can see from the result. It is our duty to make ISKCON the ISKCON that Prabhupada wants. Shivaram Maharaj said it. I'm not saying it. I think that's very, very important to note. It's not that automatically we have some kind of a blanket blessing from Prabhupada. We can also break ourselves into pieces the way the Gaudiya Math broke itself. Here, Prabhupada also said that you don't distribute my books, the temples will become empty churches. If our leaders are not serious and if our leaders are not ideal, ISKCON will become a fool's paradise. He has said that. So it is our duty to do things. Be constantly alert. For 10,000 years, we need to be alert. If you want ISKCON to get the glory of being the most important part of the golden age, you have to work hard. Be alert. No free lunch. Okay, it's 12 o'clock. I need to go. I have some services. Further discussions we can have on Telegram. Vanshakalpatarubhyasya pasantabhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo.